Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Science by Mr. Healy. In today's episode, we'll be looking at the scientific method. I never noticed we had a dancing sheep in the lab. Anyhow, let's move on. Now, what is a scientific method? A scientific method is a system of ordered or organized steps used to accurately test an observation or answer a question or a problem related to any science subjects such as ecology, human biology, computer science, etc., in order to propose a solid or a sound explanation or conclusion to what you're trying to identify. So it starts off with an observation, of course, just like we said before, and you're thinking hard about what you're looking at or what you're trying to identify. And then you propose a question. And the question is either a how or a why or what, etc. And then if you are brave enough, you can propose a hypothesis, which is an educated guess as to what the answer should be or what you think the answer should be. Now, of course, the hypothesis is a prediction, so predictions are not really always perfect, they're not always accurate, so you need to experiment and test this prediction. So, of course, you're going to be using all kinds of tools, lab equipment, etc. You're going to be thinking all kinds of variables that you need to verify or test, what should you control, etc. And, of course, you arrive at results. So, success. But is it really? The truth is, a lot of the times you go in circles. Your answer or your results may not prove your hypothesis right away, so you may have to go do this again and again and again. And let's look at the next slide, which is sort of the same idea as what I just showed you guys before. So again, you start out with a question. The only difference here is instead of going and jumping into the hypothesis, you're going to research this question. Why? Because someone might have already answered it. So why reinvent the wheel? But if no one's answered this question, then it's up to you to find the answer. So you propose a hypothesis, which is again an educated guess, and you experiment to try to see if this hypothesis is correct. Of course, you're collecting data and you organize it into charts, diagrams, and you conclude that the answer is as follows. And you celebrate. But then again, it may not be correct, so you might have to go back in circles and review your experiment and try to see what went wrong. So the next slide, we'll look at a bit more in detail at these steps. So this is you in the lab. You've got a question, you've identified a problem, you form a hypothesis, and then you make some observations, either looking at a microscope or testing chemicals or measuring or weighing, etc. Or as what the character is doing here, mixing things together and observing, of course, safely. You collect data and you organize data and you type it away and you put it in charts, pie charts, bar graphs, etc. Now you ask yourself, do my experiments and my observations support my hypothesis? If the answer is yes, then you leap in joy and you say, yes, I'm right, I always knew it, and you draw conclusions. Now, these conclusions can be published either in a refereed journal such as Science, Nature, or New England Journal of Medicine, or you can Facebook it. Yes, that's it. I invented a verb out there, Facebook it. Or you can Twitter it to try to share it with other people out there who are interested in this topic. And then again, you could be wrong. Why? Because things don't always come the way you want them. You might have had a faulty experiment. You might have experimented with the incorrect variables. Or there were some variables that you didn't control. And this can go on for days and days and months, sometimes even years, to the point that you want to give up and you may even give up. But those of you who do continue, find an answer, go back to the question, do my results support my hypothesis? If yes, you again leap in joy if you can, and then you publish your results. Now this diagram right here is sort of the same idea. The only difference that the other one is missing, notice that this one we're doing a bit of background research. Again, why? Because the question you're asking might have been answered by someone else out there, so what's the point of reinventing the wheel? then again, you might be that kind of person who likes to reinvent wheels. No problem. So you construct a hypothesis, you test it with an experiment, you analyze your results. Is your hypothesis true? Then good on you, you can report your results. But if it's partially true, even if it's tiny, tiny amount of um, uh, the discrepancies, then you may have to think again, try again, and go back in circles again and again and again and again until you are completely satisfied that our hypothesis is true and that you can report it to the scientific community or to whatever community you're part of. Now, let's look at an example. Let's say we've got this beautiful bamboo plant sitting beside a bay window, and there's a beautiful sun outside shining on it. And you notice now, again, let's put it in context. You're a grade 8 science student. You don't know much about the physiology of bamboo plants, let alone the physiology of plants. But you notice over time and over days that the bamboo plant, begins to grow towards the window, towards the sun. Then you ask yourself a couple of questions, and then you go on into investigating what's going on. So the question is the following: why why does the bamboo plant grow towards the window? So you think about it over a period of time, and then eureka, you come up with an educated guess. And your educated guess is, I believe, whoops, I believe that the bamboo plant, so I believe that the bamboo plant is trying to capture sunlight. And you happen to make a very good educated guess because you go out there and you do a bit of research and you stumble on something called photosynthesis. Say it with me, photosynthesis. Now, photo stands for light, and synthesis means the creation of something or the manufacture of something. And we can look at a bit of research here. We click on research. We go into this diagram, this animated diagram, showing us a plant in ground growing towards sunlight. This is the concept of photosynthesis. It's what all plants do in order to grow and survive. So you start out with a bit of sunlight. You need carbon dioxide in the air. You need water, either in the environment or in the soil. And of course, you need some other minerals to help you grow. And from that, you produce plant matter or plant tissue in the form of glucose, which goes into cellulose. And then you produce also something very important to all of us, which is oxygen. Now, that in a nutshell is photosynthesis, but you're learning all about this for the first time. So we go back because we want to test this now. Now, what are some of the variables that you have to test? Now, what is a variable? A variable is a piece of data that changes, that you're trying to measure. And some of these data you have to control because this might help you do a bit of comparison later on. So some of the data that you need to control are, for example, if you're comparing many plants, they need to be the same plant. They should have the same age. They should be in the same environment in terms of humidity and temperature. And you may think of other things that should be controlled. Now, there's something called an independent variable and a dependent variable. The independent variable is a variable that changes, and as it changes, it affects your dependent variable. So your dependent variable is dependent on your independent variable. So in this case, our independent variable would be the sun rays or the sunlight. And as it changes during the day, your dependent variable is affected by it. And your dependent variable in this case is the plant behavior or the plant growth. And there could be other things, of course, again, like I mentioned, there could be other variables that need to be controlled. You may think of other dependent variables out there, but in this case, this is what I think of, this is what I'm proposing. Now, when it comes to recording data, you will need all kinds of instruments. You can use a ruler, you can use a scale, you can use a digital camera to sort of film it over time and then go back with slow footage or quick frames as they do in BBC Planet, Planet Earth, or Life. And it's a pretty cool way to take a look at how the plant grows over time. And then you begin to organize your data into tables, charts, diagrams, etc. Why? Because people like pictures. Things make it makes things easy to understand. Uh, Usually. Sometimes they don't, but anyhow, in this case, we're going to show people some tables and charts and pictures to make things easier for them to understand. Now, uh, now comes this time to discuss your results. You review and discuss your results. Do they support your hypothesis? So, going back a little bit for a second, do your results, so you ask your question, do the results support my hypothesis? If yes, then good on you, kudos. You can publish your work and share it with everyone around you or share it with your mates. If not, you may have to go back again and retest. And you may have to do this multiple times until you get it right. And if you do get it right, then again, great, good on you. You can share it with your buddies in the lab or wherever you are. And that's pretty much it. Thank you all.